Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Home Run Pod. I am your host, Alex Sendek. Today is February 11th, 2026. We are hopefully nearing the end of our winter season. We're super excited here at Beeline for a roaring spring season, hopefully looking to see that purchase market off to a hot start. Anyway, we are super excited to be here. Been a little bit since we've been on the podcast. So again, welcome back, everyone. And we have a lot to dive into today. Recently, I'm not sure if you guys follow us on social or our TikTok page. Please do. Give us a like, give us a follow. Got some great content coming through there. But yeah, recently we did a giveaway on our TikTok page and just kind of asked a simple question. What's your biggest struggle when it comes to buying a home? We've gotten a ton of feedback kind of from high home prices and limited inventory to credit concerns, saving for a down payment. Some folks are just feeling completely overwhelmed by the process. I did too when it was my first time. But yeah, the comments were real, honest, and frankly quite relatable. So today I think it's just a great time for us to dive into it and kind of go over those frequently asked questions. So we're going to talk through the biggest concerns we saw in the comment section, break down what's actually true, what might be a misconception, and most importantly, what the solutions are out there, right? Buying a home can be definitely scary, a little out of reach for some, but it definitely doesn't have to be. So if you've ever felt stuck, behind, or unsure on where to start, this episode is for you. With that, I do have a guest today. His name is Cristian Dominguez. He's one of our rising stars here at Beeline and a reigning top producer in Q4. So Cristian, welcome to the show, sir. We're happy to have you.
Thanks, Alex. Extremely excited to be here and kind of share some insight on what we've been seeing and some of the market's trends and kind of going from there. A little bit on me. Been in the real estate industry for a little over a decade now and been originating loans just under 5 years. Came from a really strong background from non-conventional mortgages, so that allows me to really take a look at a lot of tricky scenarios that are coming out, and also have a ton of experience with conventional loans as well. So it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. Excited to be here and tackle on some of those questions and figure out what our kind of point of views are from our perspective and see what type of input we could give to these viewers today.
Absolutely, and thank you for that intro. And just for those out there who aren't aware, again, Cristian, complete stud with his non-conforming or non-QM product knowledge is one of the best we have. That being said, certainly more than capable to answer conventional questions, especially from a first-time home buyer perspective too. So super excited to have you. Again, I guess I'll just kind of dive right in here. The most common response it looks like we got on our TikTok page here. I'm sorry, I'm in my 30s. I don't know TikTok that well, right? So bear with me. But the number one response is regarding affordability and high prices, right? Most common. So people are overwhelmed by kind of how expensive homes are right now. I think they're probably doing a little bit of doom scrolling on Zillow that I am familiar with. And yeah, I think that's kind of our first hurdle. So Cristian, I mean, just from market prices to prices don't match the quality, inflation, like what's your take on affordability right now in today's market?
Yeah, I mean, my take is very simple on the whole point of view there is going to be you really want to take a look at your numbers and sit down with your loan guide and figure out first what it is that you can afford and kind of working your way backwards from that point. Right? Take a look at your day-to-day expenses, take a look at everything that you have going on a monthly and on an annual basis, right? Really figuring out what affordability means to you. Sometimes the answer is really, hey, we aren't necessarily ready right now, but we will be ready really quickly here. And one of the biggest things that I would say, take a lot of pride in is making sure that we pick up those phones and have those conversations with you as a borrower to figure out what affordability means to you and what it is that we could do to essentially enhance some of these particular programs for your scenario to make sure that we get you in that home. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And we completely understand that. But having a really strong team by your side not only from a loan guy perspective, but probably from a local realtor, is something that's very important to make sure that we look at those numbers accurately and determine what that affordability price point is for you, and then kind of work our way backwards into that and start searching for some homes, especially if it's your first time purchasing. From an investment standpoint, that's my favorite thing in the whole wide world, right? It's
Yeah.
either red or blue, and it's going to either make sense or it's not going to make sense. And that's something that if we are looking into an investment side of things, then we take a look at not only the first avenue, which is things like your traditional rents. We have a lot of different ways of looking at things to see if it makes sense for you. We could do short term rentals, we could do long term rentals. Ultimately, what is your goal as the consumer is what we want to find out to figure out if it makes sense for you or not. And luckily here we're very transparent in the way where if it doesn't, we'll tell you, hey, this doesn't really make sense right now for you, but let's chat in a couple months and see where we're at. So I think affordability in general, things might still continue to be a little bit higher. Hopefully, they do start to come down a little bit. But if they don't, there's all kinds of different perspectives, especially if it's your first time home, you're renting anyways. If it's an investment, it's red and blue, right? So, really taking a look at your market and partnering with the right team is probably going to be the best way to go ahead and target affordability and an honest team too, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want somebody who's going to tell you, we could do this, and then you get there and you can no longer afford that extra Saturday night going out with your family, right? So that's going to be the most important thing. Get with somebody who's going to take their time to make sure to take a look at all these scenarios for you and really bounce it off of them. And that's what we're here for.
100% agree. You definitely don't want a yes man. I know it sounds great, but probably the worst thing you can have in a kind of a mortgage process or just a financing process is a yes man without kind of checking their facts, right? So buyer beware when it comes to that. I think if you are being told no to a certain extent, that's a green flag that you're speaking to a loan officer that's actually tailoring and crafting a loan that makes sense for you. So don't be turned off by that. In fact, embrace that. The loan officer's trying to put you in the best position possible, right? So I think that's great perspective. I will also say, just from the market prices and house prices being super high, I got to be honest, like depending on where you're buying matters an incredible amount right now today. There's certain areas where I'm seeing, yeah, supply is still low, demand still very high, prices are reflecting that. There's certain parts of the country where we're seeing the opposite. We are starting to see some declining markets trending in that direction, which of course means cheaper purchase prices, right? So knowing your area, or maybe even having some flexibility there in where your location is going to be, whether that is an investor buying or a first time home buyer, and obviously a little bit trickier there for those buying a primary, right? But especially for an investor, do your homework there in those markets, because there are certainly some opportunities out there where you can definitely get some cheaper prices for sure. Speak to your loan guide, speak to some realtors about that. Another thing I'd say, when it comes to high prices, high rent too. I mean, if you're buying a primary, listen, that early upfront conversation, Christian hit it right on the head there. You talk about what's a payment you're comfortable making, right? If it's the same amount as your current rent, maybe it's a couple $100s more. Maybe that couple $100 is going to be nullified if you spend a few more extra months saving towards a down payment. So the earlier you get in front of a loan officer to have that conversation, the better. And it's going to be a faster turnaround to get your goals accomplished, right? Those are kind of my main bits. There is some stuff about inflation making buying feel impossible, fear of spending too much on a mortgage and having nothing left, right? Like, so those comments, I don't know if that's really any different in today's market versus any market. People are always kind of feeling that fear. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts there, Christian, but I feel like that's just something that you just kind of dive in, right? Just kind of get that first one under your belt, and you feel a little bit less fear the next one, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you definitely got to dive in there and really take a look at your numbers and take a look at everything as a whole, right? Like take a look at what you are currently renting for if you don't have that primary home and take a look at what that new mortgage is going to be for you. If it's within a reaching point for you, then it's a great idea for you to move forward. If it's something that's really freaking you the hell out, then
Mm,
you probably shouldn't move forward towards this. But at least you had a conversation with somebody that is going to check up on you in a couple months and say, hey, where are we with this? And where are we with maybe where you were thinking, I'm past this. When it comes to inflation, I mean, I love that topic, but I think it's a little sensitive right now. But my biggest thing is in those conversations, it's probably a great idea to actually talk to your loan officer because you'd be surprised of things as simple as rates, where they are at today compared to 2 years ago, and what some of those savings might do for you.
mm,
I mean, just to tag on a little bit to kind of
mhm,
like the markets in general, I completely agree with you there. I think every single market is going to be different when it comes to that consumer. There's places that have had a 40, 50% downturn, and there's places who have only had up and to the left for the last couple of years. So it's one of those things that at the end of the day, it ties back to have the conversation, take a look at the numbers, see if it's the right time for you. And, if it is, go for it. It's your home. It's something that you're no longer contributing rent into. And it's not necessarily an investment for you for now, right? Maybe down the line
right.
when you get the second one, it will be, but you still have the ability to get out of that first time. Am I going to purchase? Am I not? It's always a little bit scary, but 9 times out of 10 when you dive into it, you're gonna make sure that if you do have that right conversation at the end of the day, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna have the confidence to pay for everything that it is. And plus you have debt to income guidelines, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna make sure that we follow those for you, and if we do see it up there, we'll tell you, "Hey, are you sure it's a good idea?" We won't talk you out of it, but we
yeah,
will tell
yeah,
you,
yeah.
remind you of it, right?
That's
So,
right. And
very
and
simple.
I think it in fear of spending too much on a mortgage, there's two parts there. It's like, are we talking about, and for the listeners out there, it's like there are two ways to look at it. Are you worried about spending too much like on a down payment and you have nothing left, like effectively being house poor? Or are you saying you're spending too much monthly on on a mortgage payment, right? Like those are two very different things. Like if you're worried about your monthly payment, number one solution, I mean, sure, the rates dropping can help, but adding to your down payment's going to help more, right? So that could be a simple thing of, okay, let's make a savings plan for ourselves for the next 6 months, and you'll be surprised how much that's going to impact your monthly payment. If you're worried about spending too much on a down payment, well, for a first-time home buyer, we can get by pretty low on what a down payment requirement is, 3.5%, and on most cases, right, for a primary deal. So, that part I think is I wouldn't be afraid of that, right? So just to add a little bit last pointers
Yeah.
there.
And to add a little bit on to the down payment portion of things, we definitely could take a look at it as a whole and figure out where that down payment will make sense for you. We also have various realtor partners that we do work with, a network that we could go ahead and refer you, and there are some incentives on there as well. So if the down payment is really the hurdle for you, and that's something that we could always take a look at and figure out how it is that we can minimize that for you to get your foot in the door. So that's just one big thing I wanted to add on to it. Usually, the monthly is little bit different of a conversation, but when it comes to the down payment, we essentially would definitely be able to adjust based off what your particular needs are going to be and see how we could help you out to be able to get your foot in the door again.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up kind of that first most commonly asked question. Again, we're more than happy to answer any further questions. If you guys keep commenting on your socials there, we'll be happy to continue this conversation. Moving on to the next large segment, the second largest kind of response rate we got was regarding just interest rate themselves, right? So high interest rates, sky high interest rates plus prices together, making buying unrealistic. That's something, hey, we're seeing a downward momentum here. We're seeing a downward trend in interest rates. I do feel like we have certainly plateaued and we are on a downward trend, right? Those sky high rates, gosh, we're seeing some significantly lower rates than we saw back in 2023 and even in 24. 2025 was a great momentum builder for us. And I think that hopefully that trend continues. But just speaking on higher rates in general, Christian, I mean, what would be kind of your feedback for a client that's concerned on rate?
I would say, s- I continue to just like mentioning this again, but I would say talk to your loan officer. You're probably going to be extremely surprised of where rates are now compared to the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And the big thing there is we are seeing that there is less and less correlation lately to the 10-year compared to
Mm.
where the rates are actually at, right? We used to have a 10 basis point drop and then all our emails will get flooded with rates are coming down, rates are coming down. But it seems as even the 10-year has stayed a little bit on the higher side, rates still continue to fall and they are gaining different opportunities for different individuals. And it really is important to take a look at what your scenario is, right? How many times have you gotten, Alex, individuals who are now coming into this retirement stage and saying, you know what, maybe we want to turn that 30 into a 15
Mm.
and not want, I don't want to throw any numbers out there, but I'm looking at fours with a 15-year mortgage lately, right? And it's things that having those conversation, you want to see where you're at, what you're comfortable with, and what makes the most sense for you at this time, right? I think that's the most important thing. And rates overall, that's something that's going to be there. Prices have gone up, which is a fortunate situation, right? But rates is something that, once again, if you have the ability to afford that monthly payment, why not do it, right?
I have a father-in-law who is big on business, hates financing. He always pays everything straight cash. That being said, he calls me every few days. Alex, how's business? How's business? What are the rates looking like? How are the rates looking like? And I think it's just, I call it the father-in-law test. When I tell him what my average 30 and 15-year pricing is, he's like, too high, too high. Lately, I'm not getting that feedback from him lately. He's like, oh, that's not okay. All right. We can play around with that. That's getting pretty good. So if it's working for my father-in-law, chances are might work for you. But it is a pretty funny story that he and I guarantee you before I go on my next trip, I'm going on a wedding trip tomorrow morning. I guarantee you he'll call us before we go. How's business doing? And I'll have to let him know. So, but seriously, guys, I mean, going into the rates a little bit more, don't forget when interest rates are higher and it's impacting folks' affordability, it does play a role in your purchase price as well, right? A lot of times your purchase price is going to be driven down a little bit when rates are higher. When rates are very low, remember back in 2020, COVID, when the rates were at 2.5%, we were seeing some really ridiculous home prices as well. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. If the rates go down too much, you are going to see purchase prices increase because there's going to be a bidding war, right? More people are going to be in that market to buy. So please do keep that in mind when just for a full picture on what we're talking about when we're talking about interest rates. Another thing, my number one feedback for folks being afraid of interest rates: marry the house, date the rate. Okay. That's why refinances exist, guys. So in theory, hear me out. You're buying a property, rates are a little bit on the higher end. You're probably getting a discount on that purchase price due to it. Maybe a year down the road, 2 years down the road, whenever it is, the rates inevitably will change, and hopefully in a positive situation for you and your family to refinance. That's what these are for, right? We can drop that rate, drop down that payment to a more affordable situation for your family on a monthly basis. I mean, that's just how I approach it. So, marry
Yeah.
the house, date the rate is definitely a motto of mine.
Yeah, absolutely agree. My only little thing I would suggest, and this is, if you move forward with Beeline or if you use any other loan officer, I want to make sure that as a consumer, you ask, what would a 1 point difference make for me on a monthly basis as a difference? So let's say you get a certain quote, just to throw out number out there at a 5%, what would a 4% get you? All right.
Mm.
And I want you to do that exercise for anybody who's listening, right? I want you to do that exercise with your current loan officer. And I want to see if that difference is going to really affect you on a monthly basis, right? And if the answer 9 times out of 10 is yes to something like that, we probably have to have another conversation of where that particular individual could go ahead and really cut back on some of their savings or essentially cut back on some of their spending, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a very big thing. And it's minuscule, right? The big difference is for individuals, depending on loan size, right? If the loan size is very big, then that 1 point really might make a difference for you.
Sure.
But for a lot of individuals, if you really look at the differences, don't fear that particular rate or don't hope for those particular moments that we might have had in history to kind of repeat themselves. Just look at the difference. If it comes, then guess what? We're going to be right there to go ahead and get you refinanced. And I'm sure we have all kinds of different promotions that we actually are helping a lot of our consumers with to be able to get those cost savings down the second time around as we build that relationship, right? So just take a look at it. We'll be here for you. We're not going to go away once we close out your transaction. We're going to make sure that we're there for you with time and figuring out how we could continue to save from that large pile of money that was lent to you, right?
Yep. Yep. That's 100% right. And again, yes, we do have some free refi promos. Today's date's February 11th, 2026. If you're listening, hop on our website. We got terms and conditions that apply, and it's a great program. Great program for being a beeline lender for life, so to speak. So we'll take good care of our repeats and want to continue to do so. Okay. I don't know if there's too much more to talk on that. I know you kind of mentioned the 10-year a little bit. I know a lot of folks out there monitor the 10-year and they're kind of aware that like that generally traditionally is indicative on 30-year mortgage interest rates. I don't know if you have too many thoughts on that, Christian. I know that it's been relatively kind of flat, even though the feds have been dropping their rates. So I think you had a few thoughts you might want to put together on that one for me. So yeah, let me know.
Yeah. Biggest thing is really taking a look at, you know, you, me, the rest of the team. We take a look at rates every day. And if we're taking a look at what rates are on a daily basis, and then we're looking at the 10-year, a lot of consumers might be surprised that there's not a lot of correlation compared to how it used to be, right?
Today.
It
Yeah.
correct, yeah. And I would say that probably started as of 3, 4 months ago compared to I would wake up, I wouldn't even look at rates. I look at the 10-year and I'd have the ability to kind of figure out, okay, this day is going to be a little bit tough. This day is going to be a little bit higher. Now I'm just surprised, right? We're seeing the 10-year kind of a little bit of elevated levels compared to maybe some of the things that we got towards the end of the last year or the previous year. But we are also seeing, as you stated, rates kind of on the decline and stay there for a period of time, not have that sensitivity where they're bouncing back and forth. And we're in a position where we had to have this glorified moment of 2 weeks to be able to lock you as your borrower to make sure that we took advantage of that particular window, right? And that's great for the consumer because it really allows us time to figure out what's going to be the right fit for you and look at certain scenarios and also allows you to not kind of have this point in which you're continuing to reference and actually go to a person that you're able to go ahead and reference these particular rates on a daily basis. Going back to it, have the conversation with that loan guide or that loan officer and really figure out where you're at throughout the day. If you go ahead and put an inquiry for us, we actually have several systems that might even give you some automated updates for you. I know a lot of our borrowers are seeing some automated updates with some of what our interest rates are currently at, but also seeing some automated updates with what their home worth might be, right? So it's all kinds of different avenues that you could take a look at from when it comes to a rate and the 10-year and what's going on, but it's all going to sum out to having that conversation with the loan officer and figuring out if now is the right moment for you to do something, or if it's time to wait, or if it's time to go ahead and continue to build something else, right? So
Yep.
just reach out.
Love that. Love that answer. Let's move on to our next category. Number 3, I believe we got limited inventory, lack of options. Okay, so people are commenting, hey, we got not enough good homes available. So specifically good homes. So either can't find homes in the price range, homes needing too much work, lack of quality or move-in ready homes, too many flipped homes with hidden issues, which, yeah, I have seen quite a bit of that. So I think that's a great little segue here. I think this actually impacts a lot of our investors as well. So yeah, Christian, I mean, just from your standpoint, I mean, what would be your feedback there regarding kind of lack of options or lack of quality homes?
Yeah. To me, it's really about if you're on the ground and then you want to find the right realtor that's going to have experience in your area, that's going to be able to really take you from A to Z and kind of tackle on some of those conversations ahead of time. If the right home is lacking some renovation, we do have the ability to do some renovation loan, like something like an FHA 203K loan. There are some caveats behind that, so definitely want to take that conversation with your loan officer to make sure that you're planning with that accordingly. But for the most part, it's maybe wait a little bit and wait until the right opportunity comes knocking in front of you, right? But being ready is more important than if that's particularly going to be the right home and buying something that you might not necessarily want to end up with. Because
Yeah.
if the consumer's feeling that way, and that's you guys, then there's a couple of you out there. So when the right home does come online, then that's when you want to make sure that you jump on it as soon as possible. And having your pre-qualification and being ready and having these conversations up front is what's going to make you stand out and make sure that you're first in line when these particular opportunities come
Yeah.
up. And it's huge too, right? Because if you do have your purchase ready approval, you're going out there, you're in the front of the line, and I'm sure all the loan guides here at Beeline could take pride of knowing that we're going to make sure that we answer any listing agent's questions to make sure that you have the absolute best shot of trying to get that right home for you. And we are going to be available to make sure that you get to that finish line or at least give it a hell of a shot, right? So that's really what I would say. Finding the right home, if you're prepared and you're vigilant and you're on top of it and you're realistic, you're going to find it, you're going to execute it, and you're going to get to the finish line.
100% agree. I think most of the responses in this category come from feeling rushed to buy. So if you're in a situation where you put yourself to where I need to buy now, well, that's not a great situation to be in general. We don't want to do that, right? That's how you get into a situation where you're buying a less than ideal home. So everything Christian just said, right? It starts with your team. Okay. You have a great loan officer. You have a great realtor. You have a great home inspector. Okay. Home inspection's real key, especially with the flipped home hidden issues piece. Okay. Definitely want to make sure you're having inspections and going through that process. Don't get your heart too set on any individual property. I know that's harder said than done. There is an emotional side to home buying, of course, but the more you can kind of harden your heart to any one individual deal, the better you're going to be. Okay. And that means, again, having time to having the ability to be picky is key. So again, just what Christian said, you get that pre-approval going early and often, update it often, make sure you're tracking there. You get it early. That way you can be first in line to put in offers. You have your team ready to go. You got your inspector ready to go. Go in there, check it out. Make sure your realtor's putting those home inspection clauses in your sales contract so you have the ability to exit if it's not what you want, right? All of that plays in a role, right? And it's very, very important. And again, waiting until the last minute is how you're going to have this being a problem. If you don't, and you give yourself the opportunity to play the market, you're going to find the home that fits you best. That guaranteed.
Yeah. And just to add to that, you just like you said, Alex, you have all the time, right? When you get a purchase ready approval with us, you're doing that application once. We got to make sure you never lost your job along the way. But if you pick out a property, let's say 6 or 7 months down the line, right, and there hasn't been any major changes to your financial situation, you're still there. And finding the right home entitles that particular amount of patience till you do find it. But it's pretty
And
much it.
we also have, on our Beeline portal there in our tracker, you kind of have the ability to tailor your own pre-approval and off hours. If it's 2 in the morning and you're ready to go make an offer, you can go in there and tailor up your pre-approval letter. We have an ability there to kind of set parameters and you can make the adjustments as needed. And you don't even need the LO for that part, which is a huge, really, really cool beneficial factor that Beeline offers that I don't think exists a ton elsewhere, right? So super important to note that too. Again, it's not a huge needle mover, but it is a kind of a nice little perk. that we do have. Kind of moving into the next one here, and this is really a 2 point, really twofer. I see the next two one is down payment challenges and figuring out what's affordable. I know we kind of touched that already, but you know, I think the saving upfront cash is a big blocker. I think people are saying, with down payment struggles, saving for a house while managing life expenses, balancing school, living costs, and savings. Well, yeah, I think Christian kind of touched on it earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. Christian, I mean,
Just have the conversation, right?
that's it.
Have the
Have the conversation.
conversation, get on our portal and essentially complete the application. You're probably going to get a call in a freakishly amount of time. And we're going to want to figure out what the best avenue is for you, right? And in that, most crucial thing that we're going to do is we're going to figure out if this is affordable for you or not, right?
Yeah.
If this is the right move for you or not from a financial standpoint, right? We can never determine personal, but it's something that having that conversation is going to take away all the stresses of, are we in a bubble? Is this the right home for me? Am I going to have any money left over? What does my down payment look like? All those doubts that you do have, these are things that we deal with on a daily basis, and we're able to kind of give you some clarity on it so you could make the decision on if it's the right time for you to move forward or not. And if it's not, at least you did the exercise. So now we could go ahead and tell you, hey, once you're a little bit more ready, let's come back to us and see if it makes more sense for you.
I'm going to say it louder for those in the back. If you're having anxieties about down payment, figuring out what's affordable, and you're not picking up the phone, okay? Some of you younger folks out here, you guys like to be tied to a text message or an email, whatever. All right. But you're going to have your anxieties melt away much faster with the 10-minute phone call than a death by 1,000 cuts just texting back and forth and freaking yourself out. Like, get over that hurdle. Make one phone call to our loan guides, and you will be amazed at how much better you're going to feel versus just agonizing and beating yourself up. You guys just make the call. It's super easy. We make it easy for you. We're not going to be used car salesmen. We're going to just tell you what it is. Okay. So I'm challenging our listeners out there to actually use that device that's in our pocket all the time and use it for what it was originally for, which is making a phone call. We will make sure you feel much, much better. I promise.
Yeah. And just like Alex said, if now is not the right time for you, we're not going to tell you, hey, you have to do this anyways, right? Like, hey, this isn't working out for you. This isn't the best time for you to be able to do this. Let's work on a plan that if this is a goal of yours, that we'll do next year or the year
X,
after,
Y,
right?
Z, X, Y, Z. You do X, Y, and Z, and then in a few months we talk again, and you're going to be in the place you need to be. Okay, and again, it all unravels. Then you have the time, and you're doing this in an early enough time span where you have chance to do X, Y, and Z and actually execute on it. Right. So it's all of this kind of snowballs on each other, right? And again, goes back to speaking up. Okay, so last couple of two issues that we've gotten, not as huge, but credit and financial readiness or no or poor credit history, stable income, but credit is holding them back. Okay, that one we have a lot of options for. A lot of options for. Christian, I'll let you go into this one because there's a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to credit, we are seeing a little bit of the guidelines kind of open up a little bit more to some of those lower scores. And we do have a lot of options when it comes to some of those lower scores, not only from a primary perspective, but also from an investment perspective. Those are things that are very important for you as the consumer to kind of disclose over to us. And then it's our job to figure out how we can make all this kind of fit in a box that makes the most sense for that loan to be going ahead and getting underwritten, right? When it comes to credit, though, there is guidelines that have been a little bit less strict lately when it comes to the actual scoring of it. So back at it, have that conversation, figure out where it is that your credit score is at. Great thing about our portal, Alex, is that once you get all the way towards the finish line, not only do you have a free purchase ready approval, you also have a free conversation with your loan guide, but you also have another free conversation with the sorry, you also have another credit report that was essentially pulled for you that we could take a look at and see what's going
Hey,
on in
what's
there,
going on?
right? We'll tackle it together and essentially see what everything is popping up there. And if it makes sense for you now, we'll make sure to move towards it. If it doesn't, we'll tell you, hey, we got to get this off the credit. But we have so many options when it comes to low credit that it shouldn't be a fear from holding you on completing an application and allowing us to take a look at it and see if there's room for either opportunity to grow out of it, or you might be ready right now and just not know it because you have that fear.
We have soft pulls for your credit, which do not count as an inquiry on your credit like a hard inquiry would. Okay, so we can at least get like a little feeler out there, see what we're working with. We got a partnership with a company that can actually work with you on actually repairing your credit score itself. We have programs for primary ownership that go quite low on credit. I'm not going to shout specific scores out right now, but we can go fairly low on credit. A lot of little tidbits here. Hey, if you want to kind of do something on your own. Listen, timeliness in the credit space is the number one thing to improve your history, right? Just length of time without lates is a big one. And then, of course, you know, your credit cards, right? Making sure you keep below like 25 to 30% utilization, meaning you never want your balance on your credit card to go above like 30% of the maximum. That's a big one too. One that I feel like is the least known for folks that I speak to on the phone. They don't realize how much of an impact that has. So even if you're making your credit card payment on time, if you're near the maximum balance, that's still negatively impacting your score somewhat dramatically in some cases. So that's a really easy one that if you're just aware of, you can monitor and make sure you're acting accordingly there. But short answer is there's no quick fix to credit, but we have a lot of options to either deal with lower credit or to get you in the right place to inevitably fix it.
Yeah. No, and it really is like going through this process really is a good opportunity to really take a look at it and see where you currently are at. And one big thing that I do want to touch up on, and I
Mm,
probably repeat this 9 out of 10 times every day, we do a real soft pull. We are not a lender who's going to tell you we do a soft pull and then your credit karma is going to ding and say, hey, there's a hard pull on there, right?
mm-hmm.
It's going to be something that it's a true soft pull. It's something that you're not even going to notice if it's on there and you go through our initial application. Of course, we do a hard pull as we continue the process, but that's not something that's needed to have the conversation for you. So it's a real softball. And I just want to reiterate that, right? Because it's very
Very
beneficial to
important.
be able to have that snapshot without looking at the whole entire, without getting the full softball,
Critical.
the hard pull.
Critical. Critical. Hard inquiry searcher scores, So we can do a very minimally invasive option for you to handle your anxieties under approval and not actually impact your credit at the same time. So again, something we really take a lot of pride in, and we take it seriously. So come to the right place when you talk to us regarding credit. Okay. Last one, and again, this is again a little bit repetitive, but competitive market stress is the last topic that I see a lot of people kind of commenting on, and that's multiple offers rejected, being outbid repeatedly, stuck renting despite trying to buy. Look, that's just honestly, that's just you got to have patience with it when it comes to that. Multiple offers being rejected isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like that's not indicative that you're doing anything wrong. That doesn't mean you're a poorly qualified applicant. It just means that in your area there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things you could do to maybe help mitigate that. Christian, I don't know what your thoughts are, but what's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is making sure that you look at where that anxiety is streaming from, that essentially there is a lot of competition in the area, right? And how are you going to minimize it? So I would work in a way where, okay, I now need to make sure that I'm 100% ready when that opportunity does arise. And having the ability to get a purchase ready approval at 9:55 p.m. on a Saturday for a specific property that might have came on the market at 5 p.m. on a Saturday is something that's huge. Having a loan guide that will take a call for you at that time if there is some sort of essentially something coming up or something that you want to bounce off them, that's something that's huge. Having the right team on your side will have a lot of these stresses kind of dwindle away. And always think if your market is that hot, that's likely a really good sign, especially when there's a lot of markets that are on the downturn, right? So
Hmm.
I would say be prepared. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just essentially being cautious and waiting for the moment that's correct for you. And once it does come, you want to put yourself in a position to be the first one in line to make sure that you are the one that is essentially getting picked, right? And build your team. Now build your team if you see there's all kinds of markets. I'm down here in Miami, Florida, and we have one of the most aggressive markets and we still probably can't believe it. And the biggest thing I always tell everyone is, hey, make sure that you have a team who has the ability to first speak to each other, but also understand your particular scenario. So when that time does come, you are 100% prepared to be a really good candidate. Right. And you have somebody who's going to pick up the phone, not necessarily only to you, but Alex, how many
Yep,
times have you got a listing agent call you at 7 and they're like, wow, I can't believe you're one of these online lenders and you picked up the phone call on a Saturday at 7 to tell me that the client looks good? How many times have we
exactly.
had that?
All
Right?
the
And
time. All the
that's
time.
huge.
They're always
That's
surprised.
huge. Yeah, they're always surprised when we send them a text back and it's to them, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It's have a strong team, do the homework ahead of time, and a lot of these concerns are going to go away in your process. And a lot of these concerns are going to be taken care of in your process, and you're going to essentially end up being a lot happier than you thought you
Yeah.
were when it comes to the process in itself. And it's going to be a lot easier than you probably think it might be.
Perfect answer. Only other things that I'll add is stay the course. Don't get discouraged by having multiple offers rejected. Don't don't question yourself there, right? What's the other answer? To pay more, overpay for a house, right? So like don't do that. Stay the course, have patience, make sure you allot yourself enough time to be able to make a sensible transaction so you're not in a pressure situation where you do have to go outside of your comfort zone to offer more on a property than you'd like to just to get the house because you need to get the house. Like that's a nightmare scenario for me. So again, time and patience is really the number one answer there. You will find a house that fits you, right? If you stay the course there. So don't sweat it. Definitely don't get discouraged. And I 100% agree with Christian's sentiments there. So now I honestly think that wraps it up. I think that is a really good, just kind of base level conversation for all of you out there. I hope you guys take a breather from the doom scrolling and make sure you're talking to us. And I think you'll be feeling a whole lot better about your situation. And trust me, look at our reviews. We got people all over the place saying that, never thought I could do it, never thought it would happen to me, yada, yada. And they are currently living in their home. So
Yeah. And that's one last thing before we wrap up that
please,
I want to kind of share with everyone is if you have a unique scenario, if you are self employed, if you have been running a business for a certain amount of time, if you've been rejected, don't get discouraged. We'd love to take a look at your particular scenario and see what programs it is that we could fit you in. We have everything from profit and loss, bank statements, asset depletion. And if you're wondering what those are, talk to us, right? A lot of times we see lending done when there's common sense in that aspect, right? In that particular transaction. So if it's something where you feel, man, I might have gotten turned down by this particular lender or this particular bank because you didn't fit in that set of guidelines, talk to us. Let's see if we could get you in the right track with a different set of guidelines and see if we might have a better solution for you. But we do have a lot of different options, a lot of different programs that we could help you out with, especially when it comes to something from a primary or an investment.
totally agree. And I think parting words here, what Christian's saying is dead on. Another thing I'll add, a beeline, when you're speaking to loan officers, maybe at other companies, whatever, understand that not all loan officers are created equally. At Beeline, we have a lot of senior seasoned loan officers. I'm going to add some context here, guys. So when the market turned, right, after the 2020 kind of refinance boom was over, interest rates went way up. A lot of loan officers, a lot of people in financial services in general exited the mortgage industry. Okay. They went on to do other stuff. Okay. Now we're seeing loan officers kind of slowly flooding back into the space. However, us over here at Beeline, we've been chugging right along this entire time, through thick, through thin. We've been doing it all. We have been diving deep into various loan programs to fit all of our clients' needs, and we know what we're talking about, right? So I think it's extremely important to understand, when you're shopping, speak to somebody that knows what they're talking about, okay, and truly knows a vast, wide toolbox of loan products that are available to you and can find those answers for you. People get denied all the time simply because they don't have a loan officer that knows how to craft deals. Okay. So please keep that in mind when you're doing your shopping and when you're searching for that lender. Realize there is not the talent level is certainly different depending on who you speak to. So give us a call. Christian, thank you so very much for your time today, my friend. I always appreciate you, and I certainly appreciate your debut on the pod. So for
Thanks,
all you
Alex.
listeners, thanks again. And for all you listeners out there, we'll catch you next time with we got some stuff getting added on to the books here for Q2, Q3 with a bunch of various guests. Super excited for it. So all you listeners out there, thank you. Be well, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.